Hey guys, Mitchell from Footy from the West Coast here. First video, how exciting. And I thought I'd give you guys some delicious content today. We are going to talk about the West Coast Eagles players who are coming out of contract in 2026 and what I think the club should do with them. So we're going to go by number order, and that brings us to Elijah Hewitt. Elijah's a really interesting one. I am of the opinion that Lige will no longer be with us at the end of this year. I think from, all the media info coming around, not that that's sacrosanct for in any way whatsoever, but just a few things I'm noticing attitudinally from Elijah. And, there's also the side of me that's, he hasn't come on like we would have hoped. His body's let him down. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. And he absolutely has talent. There's no doubt. Do I think the Eagles are the best at developing talent? Absolutely not. So that could totally be a part of it. And I could see Elijah becoming a really good player at another club, and if they can get his body right, even more so. But I just don't think Elijah is going to be that player for us at the Eagles. And, depending on what we get from the trade, it's probably a win-win for both parties. Obviously, I'd love to keep Elijah, but I think what we can get back in return at this stage is potentially more beneficial. And one of the only players that we might want to trade that could net us some actual value. So, whilst it'd be nice to keep Elijah and, hope he comes on, I think it's time and Elijah will be traded. Tyler Brockman, number 10. Obviously brought Tyler over from Hawthorn. He's had his fair share of, out of football incidents, which certainly hasn't helped along the way, and had a few injuries along the way as well. When Brockman's been a part of the team, he absolutely shows some things and genuinely has talent and AFL traits, but the off-field issues, I think, outweighs that for me, and I just don't see it being worth the time to keep Brockman on the list, which is unfortunate because he has shown a few things. And he's got half a season left, at least in the waffle for now, to show that he's up to it and can do it on a consistent basis, because consistency has been the problem with Brockman for a long time, whether it be that have been from the injury issues, the off-field issues, or actually playing football. He hasn't shown it week in, week out for long enough for me to, sort of want to keep going with Brockman. And with, I guess, the important thing for this video and for 2026 with the Eagles is that we are going to have such a tight restriction on the list. We're going to have to crunch this down to so much. So a lot of players are going to have to miss out, unfortunately. And for me, Brockman is one of those. Talking about another, number 13, Noah Long. Obviously out the whole year due to the knee issue, which has come at a genuinely horrible time for Noah. In Noah's first year, he really showed some great talent. He was great in transition football with his hands and with some great kicks through the corridor, and we used him quite a bit, and was a great link-up player to that inside 50. But again, last year didn't show progression like we would have hoped. Second year blues, whatever you want to call it. And then the knee this year has come at such a poor time. And considering we're gaining so much more talent on our list, I think that's going to leave Noah to be without a contract for next year. Would I be upset if we offered him a year as a show of goodwill? Absolutely not. But if it were me, and I think we've kept players at the Eagles for longer than we should have, a lot over the last few years, and perhaps that's why I'm reticent to continue with Noah. But I just think it's come at a truly awful time. So I would be delisting Noah. Number 15, Jamie Cripps, Cripper the man. Again, horrible injury this year, which has, kept him out of the side. Would I want him in the side? Oh, really tough to say. He's been so great for so many years and, one of our best forwards for a long time. An incredible runner. That aerobic capacity of his is truly amazing. And, great transitionally, but I think this is the end for Cripper. Desperate for him to be able to come back from the injury and have a farewell game so we can treat him with the respect that he deserves. But I would not be continuing with Jamie again. Like I've spoken about, he's one of those players that we need to let go now and just call it, make the decision. But been a great player over a long time. So thank you, Cripper. Number 23, Ryan Marrick. Interesting one. One of the harder ones for me in a few ways. Marrick, the supporter base is so divided on Ryan Marrick. He's incredibly maligned. He's like, Doug and Cole, one of those types. And, when the Eagles lose or, he has a bad game, we jump on him like nothing else. And I do see why. Marrick, for one, isn't playing, where he's best suited. He should be forward flank. He's a leader, great mark, good set shot, operator. Do we play him there? No, which obviously because of the more talented players that we have in that area now has forced him to sort of be moved to that half-back distributor, wing sort of player. But my issue with Marrick, if he's in defence or on the wing, the defensive side of his game is null and void. He's devoid of any want to have contact with another player, with tackling or a bump or just, any sort of contested footy is not his thing. And if he's going to play in those areas, he has to be. And he's not good enough of a runner for the wing, I wouldn't say. And his disposal is okay. It's like his thing is disposal, but it's also one of his worst attributes, funnily enough. That 15 to 20 metre flat kick that he does comes off often, but does it come off every time? No, and I don't want to see him kick any further than that. He often bites off more than he can chew, and those bullets that go straight to the other team and just straight back the other way, not what we want. I think we have better distributors. We've got Tom McCarthy, we've got Josh Lindsay coming through. I don't like seeing Marrick in my team over a player like Josh Lindsay, a player like Herbert, a player like Ollie Franco. I think we're probably now wasting more games on a player like Ryan Marrick than we should be. We should be getting games into other players. We know what we've got in Marrick. He might get a 1 or 2 year extension. Wouldn't be surprised at that fact, but I wouldn't be pursuing any further with Marrick. But he's been serviceable. He has. So again, wouldn't be shocked if we kept him for another year or two. Number 24, Harvey Johnston. Love Jono. Clearly gives, has an amazing attitude about everything. Always has a smile on. Always very talkative. I'm sure he's a much loved player in the group. What's he shown at AFL level? A little. A great runner. Not much else. I love his defensive intent. He does get there. Lays some tackles and runs both ways. Absolutely, you'll see him, take marks like Hamish Davis does as well from that wing position. But also, his contact work in defence isn't the greatest at times, and I'm not sure he's, hard enough. Probably, I think in a 1-win season last year, I don't believe Harvey played one game for us. And not breaking into a team that's won one game is, concerning. Obviously, he's playing in the AFL team right now, but I think there's others I'd prefer trying over Jono. Probably one I wouldn't want to see in the team much longer unless he really improves his performance to the level. But would be okay. Again, not shocked if Jono got another year, also a little extension, but gun to my head sort of stuff. I would be delisting Harvey Johnston. Number 25, Matthew Flynn. Obviously was our go-to ruckman for a majority of last year and the year before. Now he's been relegated to the waffle when Bailey Williams has had his sort of renaissance and finally using the new ruck rules to his advantage and had a great, month or so of football. Flinny's doing all right in the waffle. A lot of hit outs, obviously, but the new rules just don't suit him whatsoever. That big lumbering guy, not great around the ground. Sorry. I just don't see a place for Flinny in the AFL team. At least past the sort of 3 or 4 year mark. I think Flynn will get another contract, and I would too, maybe a 2-3 year extension, because whilst Archer Reed and Cooper Duff Tytler, get to the body level, of an AFL player, fill out a little bit. I think it's important that we have someone like Flynn in the squad at least, just in case of injury. I think in that AFL body ready player, we probably just have to keep on the list, but definitely not a long-term solution. I definitely don't want to see him getting games in the AFL team over the likes of Coop and Arch. So we'll see how that goes. I'm almost positive he'll get an extension, and I do think we need that for the ruck depth that we've got currently. Number 28, Tommy Cole. Tom Coleman, they like to call him after a few goals last night against Port. Potentially, behind Liam Duggan, the most maligned player, easiest target for Eagles fans. And, oh boy, I've torn shreds off this guy, probably more than anyone apart from Duggan, so I get it. He's had a little bit of a form increase over the last couple of weeks with the new role as that pressure forward. He's not the most talented guy, not the most skillful guy, not the best runner. But you know what you're going to get from Tom Cole? And I rate that. Again, speaking of the last, 5 years or so with a generationally shit output from the West Coast Eagles, and Cole being a little bit of a part of that, but the attitude has never gone from Tommy. Again, like I said, you know what you're going to get. He's going to go hard at the pill, run all day, and try his guts out. And you do need guys like that. If this role continues to work and he keeps laying, 5, 6, 7, 8 tackles a game, wonderful. But I would far prefer, I'd say a Jack Hutchinson would come straight back in that role for Tommy Cole. Jack's a better athlete, runner, and tackler than Tommy. Ollie Franco could also perform the same role, who's doing an amazing job in the waffle currently, laying tackles like nothing else and has that speed and aerobic capacity and anaerobic capacity for that matter. But I think we'll just wedge out Tom Cole. And with Ollie Franco signing the 18-month contract, that might spell the end for Tommy Cole, but wouldn't be surprised if we kept him on for another year or two either, and especially if he keeps playing like he did against Port Adelaide. Number 29, Clay Hall. I'm going to be brutally honest on Clay. He's not up to AFL standard. He's so one-paced. He's a slow, contested ball player, and the game is moving away from having more than one or a couple of those types of players on your list. His disposal isn't good enough to warrant it either. Again, not fast, so that transitional play is just not his style. One of those guys that does try his hardest, and I do love that about Clay, but again, like I said, you can't have too many players like that, and he's definitely not kicking the door down at waffle level. I'm very confident that we should be moving past Clay, and I would not be giving him another contract. Number 30, Harry Barnett. Jeez, we've given Barnett a long time to sort of get it all together. Those tall ruckman prospects, take a lot longer to develop. I totally get it, but Barnett just hasn't come on like we've all hoped, I guess, and I think it's time now. I just can't see us giving him another contract, especially the words especially, I know, but just hasn't met expectation. And there's no way I'd be recontracting Harry at this stage. Bailey Williams, number 32. Geez, this has certainly changed in the last, couple of months. A renaissance of sorts. The new ruck rules have really, really helped Bailey elevate his game. He's been brilliant around the ground. Obviously, hit outs have been fantastic. And given us that, dominance of what were we number one ranked clearance team in the AFL with the four-man combo of Yo Kelly, Reid, and Williams, which is gobsmacking, to be honest, but great. He's the number one man for us, at least now, for sure. Other teams are going to come hard for Williams, I'd say. It absolutely looks like he's, staying with the club, so I don't have any worries about him being traded whatsoever. I think he's going to stick with us, hopefully on reasonable coin, not too much. Eagles, for goodness sake, just something middle of the range I think is fine for Bailey, but he's played great and I think he should be rewarded with a recontracting, absolutely. Number 33, Rep Bazzo. Injury-riddled Bazzo's been over the first few years of his time with the Eagles. Gets better and better every week that we see him in the AFL. Obviously, around Rubes has been much better. That second, third with Youngie has really shown what he can do. And again, like I said, better and better every week, and I hope that continues. We're absolutely going to need him to step up now that Ruben's gone, but a huge positional need for us, a key back. I can't see him not getting a contract considering the time we're in and the state our list is in with key backs. He has to get recontracted. Simple as that. Hope he keeps it up and keeps improving. Have not minded Bazzo's input at AFL level whatsoever in the last couple of weeks, so keep it up, Rhett. Number 34, Jack Williams. Like Elijah Hewitt, I think Jack is going to be one of those players that has a little bit of value that the Eagles won't be too sad about letting go. We've got a lot of players in that position. Again, talking those Archer Reeds, Cooper Duff Teitlers, Job Shanahan. We've sort of got that locked down, sorted out, and especially if we're going after a player like Georgiades, I can't see us pursuing with Jack Williams. So I think he'll get offered up on the trade table, and if we get something back, wonderful. But I don't think we need a Jack Williams. Decent player, like what he's done at AFL level, absolutely, and probably too good for the waffle. I'll admit, just not a big positional need for us at the moment. So I wouldn't mind if we recontracted him, and depending on how tight the list gets, might be one of the players that misses out. But I think we should absolutely be seeking a trade for Jack Williams. He'll get far more money at another club, and get to be that number 2, 3 guy, whereas he can't be that for us. So wishing all the best for Jack, and a decent player. Wouldn't mind if we keep him, but if we can get something for him, I think that's the way we should go. Number 37, Malachi Champion. Positional need for us, for sure. That forward pocket, small forward position is not one that we are really gifted in having too many players, unfortunately. And I think Malachi has shown enough at AFL level now. He's certainly got AFL traits and skill enough to be in the AFL for sure. I'd love to see him get a few more games consistently, like stop bringing in Matt Owies at all, for one, but stop bringing Owies in for Champion. We need to develop players like Champion and give them the time in the league. Not that he doesn't need a rest every now and then, and sometimes he doesn't, obviously his body is not up to AFL standard yet, I would say. So in those occasions, sure, but when he's fit and ready to go, I'd just like to see Malachi in the team. But I think we recontract Malachi for another year or two. Absolutely, there's something there, and we need to, we need to keep pushing through with that. Number 39, Fred Rodriguez, a bit of a steal at the rookie draft, our man Fred. And every time I see Fred in the waffle, he's not getting time where he should be playing, because of players like Finley McRae and Harry Schomburg being the choices for those, in the midfield at the moment. So, he's often getting put to a forward flank or a wing and not where he should be playing, but he shows enough every time he's out in the field. Not a huge disposal winner, yet again playing out of position, but he's definitely got traits that are going to work for us in the future. He's got a bright future, this man. He's raw at the moment, absolutely, and needs more time, but excited to see where Fred goes and absolutely think we should continue on with Fred. Number 46, Jacob Newton, obviously been out for the entirety of this year, unfortunately, with the injury. But I've liked what I've seen from the mid-season draftee last year. Speaking about Newton and our next player, Milan Murdoch, I can't wait for a forward line with Newton and Murdoch. I think they're, of the same mould, obviously both mature age pickups. I think they've both got that attitude about them, that hunger. Newton's great overhead, shows great skill and poise in front of the sticks, and has something that we don't really have at the moment. And again, positional need, that player. But unfortunate this year with the injury, but I absolutely think we should recontract Newton on a 2 or 3 year deal. I guarantee there's AFL traits and ability there, and would love to see more of it now that the whole team's better. A player like Newton will be better for it, with the rest of the squad being better for sure. Now, just as I just spoke about, Milan Murdoch, number 47. Milan, my man. After Milan's first game, I saw the meme, thank you so much, you've changed my life. And it's just, I'm literally just Milan Murdoch. It's true, though. Love Milan. Probably because we've had such a deficit of this type of player over the last, 5 to 6 years. Milan is genuinely a player that gives a shit and tries his hardest every week, and I love that. I can't stress how much I love that and how lacking we have been over the last few years for a player like this. He's an absolute pest to the opponents. We've lacked that too. Players that are hard to play against. We haven't had that in so long. He's talented, aggressive at the contest. He wants that ball. He sees ball, gets ball, needs ball, and will get the ball and do whatever he can to get there. He's got some great pace, a great step. Again, that hunger for the contest I can't stop speaking about. And he's great in front of the sticks. He's been so good in front of goal. He's been scoring. He's been involved in scores, and that tenacity will go a long way at this level. I think he's so glad and appreciative to be given his chance, and I think he's already given us that back in spades, and will continue to do over the years, and is an absolute lock for this team moving forward. Has to get another contract. Let's get the electrician the money that he sorely deserves and that he's lost since joining the Eagles. Absolutely. What a star. Love Milan. And yeah, again, brings exactly what we've lacked for such a long time to this team. Number 48, Harry Schomburg. Part of the assistance package collection, if you will, along with Finley McRae. He's been all right at AFL level. You know what you're going to get again from Harry every week. One of the one pace, contested ball midfielders, great at getting the pill, and not much else, unfortunately. Lacks that pace, lacks that disposal efficiency and drive that I think the modern game really requires. And he's just a bit of a, all right player. And is that someone that we can keep around? Probably not. I wouldn't be recontracting Harry. Maybe if we need those seasoned bodies for another season or two, perhaps we keep Harry. But he's not even kicking the door down at waffle level, and we're unfortunately wasting a lot of time on ball with Harry in the waffle than other players, like I've spoken about with Fred Rodriguez, for example, and it's hurting development, and I don't want players on our list that hurt development when we're already clearly not a very good developmental side or team or club, however you want to put it, that I really don't want to keep putting game time into players like Schomburg. That's all I'll say on that. Number 49, Jake Miles Renke. Does anyone know what this man is? Obviously, basketball background means he's going to be a god amongst men in AFL. Played his first game for the club on the weekend against Claremont. 2 touches, obviously very limited game time. And because he's been playing basketball over the last few years, he's a Cat B rookie. He's a project player. He's not going to be anywhere near it for a while. Would love for him to keep getting time in the waffle to see what he's like. Almost impossible to really make a judgment call on Jake at the moment, considering how far back he is going to be. But if we really see something there, another year, why not? There's others I think we know enough about to get rid of, to give a spot up to a project player like Jake. And last but certainly not least, the Geelong VFL captain, Marcus Herbert, number 51. Oh boy, can you believe we've got a squad going up this high? Marcus is impressive. One amazing game in the waffle, one okay game in the waffle. Ball just didn't seem to get near him yesterday, but over the 2 games that he has played for us since coming over, and someone from a Geelong program who I've spoken, everyone knows about it, but I've spoken a bit on Twitter over the years. We should be getting as much players, coaches, whomever from Geelong's programs as possible, because it's a proven quantity, proven method, over the last 25 years of success with Geelong, that we should gain as many people from these places as we can. His composure is one of his best traits. He's hard at the contest, that mature body. Just watching him brush past people, he's definitely too good for the waffle level or VFL level. That's why we've picked him up, and I need to see him start getting games in the AFL team. Get rid of Duggan like that. I want to see Herbert in over Duggan, and I'm hoping that's what our future is. Get that fucking big C away from Liam Duggan's name, and maybe he'll, actually have to play well to retain his spot. But that's sort of where I see the future. And in that case, I'd see Herbert taking that spot. Absolutely. He's great with ball and hand. I've spoken about the composure, but his disposal is good too. He's got decent speed as well, and wonderful in traffic. So if we need him in the midfield, he can. But I think he'll be a great defender, distributor, off that half-back line, and absolutely see an upgrade in our AFL team with Marcus. But that's everyone that's coming out of contract in the year of 2026 for the West Coast Eagles. Really looking forward to how the rest of the year goes, and seeing what a few of these guys do. Maybe some opinions of mine will change, over the next 3 months or so, and I certainly hope so for a few of them. But that's me for today. That's footy from the West Coast. Hope everyone has a great rest of your week, and take care. Thank you.